All right, everyone. Welcome back to the Goodwill Podcasting. Alongside me, as always, Dan. It's been a while.
It has had a nice break over the holidays. We're back and we have a lot to talk about today. Get into our top 10, talk a little poor things.
Yeah. How are the holidays?
They were nice. Got to see everyone I needed to see. Was able to rest. I just had surgery last week, so recovering from that is tedious, but doing well. And yeah, it's been good. How are yours?
New Year's Eve, the wife was sick, so I just got on TikTok Live and was hanging out there for a while.
Oh, nice. I think Stone was on there too.
Yeah. Well, I was trying to join his, and it was his first live ever, and we couldn't figure out how to get in on each other's. So I was just like, I'll go live on my own.
It's such a pain sometimes, man. It's not the best interface, but it's all right.
Yeah, I mean, I saw you two struggling plenty the other day.
Yeah, and also there's supposed to be a way to make it like split screen, but I don't know how to do that because the only way I've seen is when people either have like you're just really large and everyone's in the boxes on the side, or it's like a big grid with like 9 or 10 people and everyone's small. But I don't know. I have to look into that.
Yeah, that would be cool to get like the three of us on there or something, or even more.
Yeah, absolutely. I did that a long while ago and it was fun. It was full of people. So I'd like to do that again because it's nice to just like get together a bunch of random people and everyone can kind of meet and it's nice. So.
Oh, for sure. Dude, I did a live the other day though, and I got into some dark territory and immediately ended it.
What happened?
I was up so my horror movie knowledge is awful. So I just put up a background like recommend me horror movies. And there was one guy in there, like he recommends some good ones like Terrifier, Paranormal Activities, The Shining, like classics, but then also some I haven't seen. And then a few other guys joined, they were commenting theirs, and all of a sudden the same guy from earlier was like, "Do you play horror games?" And I was like on Xbox, PlayStation? And he was like, "No, like in real life." And I was like Bloody Mary? And he was like, "Yeah, exactly like Bloody Mary." And I was like, "No." I was like, "I think everyone knows Bloody Mary." He goes, "Do you care if I talk about some down here?" And I was like, "This seems like bad territory." But like, I just kind of ignored him.
Yeah, that's the move.
And he just started dropping them. And like, finally, when I was like, I need to end my live now, he was talking about one where you have to like cut open the palm of your hand and bleed onto a piece of paper or some bullshit.
That's
I was
just
like,
instant end.
yeah, I was like, I'm not playing with this anymore.
Can you block people right from there? Like, can you just like?
Yeah.
Okay,
or you can kick them out of your live too.
Okay. Yeah, because that's the downside of doing is like people will just get on there and just wild out. Like people will say anything. It's really
yeah. No, that I was after he started talking about that, I was like, I need to cut this off.
I feel like also I've definitely seen people be like just really mean like to other people. And it's just like, man, you got to go outside or something. Like it's
everyone's tough behind a keyboard.
Yeah, my thing is like if I wouldn't say something to someone's face, like I'm not going to say it over the internet. Yeah. I think if you live that way, like you can avoid pretty much any kind of problem online. So
honestly, yeah. Well, and that's why I like talking about Star Wars so much on TikTok. Is the community is so toxic that I'll take all the hate.
Yeah, I mean, you can definitely. It definitely works. I wish it wasn't like that, but that's just how Star. And you know better than I do, but that's just kind of how Star Wars is.
Oh yeah, 100%. I mean, like the creator Straw Hat Goofy, like he has like 3-some million followers, and he won't even talk about Star Wars because he doesn't like the fan base.
Yeah, yeah, and it's like it doesn't have to be like that. Like people can just stop being like that at any time. But
oh yeah, there's plenty of people in my comments mad the other day about I didn't have Revenge of the Sith as the best Star Wars.
Yeah, just like I talked about this before, but I feel like you should just enjoy seeing other people talking about like the IP. Like that should just it's fun. It's like it's fucking make believe in outer space. Like it's fun. It's not because
you and I disagree on Eternal Sunshine
or like politics. Like it's just goofy. Like yeah, we can disagree about a movie. It doesn't fucking matter. Like it literally does not matter. But
yeah, people are dumb when it comes to their takes.
Yeah, and I also think some people are just mad about something in their own life and then they don't identify or deal with that and then they take it out on other people about whatever because they're not actually addressing what's going on. So maybe just figure out, if you find yourself getting mad about movies, maybe figure out what's making you mad in reality. So
yeah,
pro tip.
I mean, The Last Jedi kind of still makes me mad, but that's for a whole separate reason.
Yeah, those movies are really. And I was just like talking about them the other day in that video, and like thinking back, they really just are such a mess. Like,
Yeah.
and it's so disjointed and just like I was saying to someone, I can't imagine like the actors working on those had to know like how that was going and had to like feel it as they were making the movies. That has to be like so frustrating.
Oh yeah, what's his name? John Boyega. I
Yeah,
hope I'm pronouncing that right.
yeah, yeah,
He has an interview where he was like saying on set, he was like, "This is not how Star Wars works."
yeah,
Like the line where like they fly now. Like he was like they've flown for since before the prequels.
yeah. Yeah, and I feel like Finn is one of the characters that just got like the most. I feel like he just got thrown away, and he was a good character. Like he was interesting. Like
Yeah,
his arc was interesting, but that was a waste, man. And he's a good actor. Like,
yeah. I've enjoyed him in everything else I've seen him in.
yeah, but yeah. Anyway,
Yeah, let's kick it off. So we're starting today with talking about Poor Things.
yeah,
So, a quick synopsis of Poor Things. Brought back to life by an unorthodox scientist played by Willem Dafoe, a young woman runs off with a lawyer on a whirlwind adventure across the continents, free from the prejudices of her times, and she grows steadfast in her purpose to stand for equality and liberation.
I think that's a good summary.
Yeah,
What was kind of your gut reaction walking out of the theater?
I'm pretty sure I texted it to you, and I was like, that shit was wild. Because I went into this, I had never saw a trailer. I didn't know anything about it. I just saw that it was up for an Oscar when I was making the graphics for our Instagram and Facebook. And I was like, well, I need to get on, and see some of these movies before March rolls around. So I just shot my mom a text. Wish I would have known what it was about before I went and watched this with my mom.
How was that? Was she a good sport about it, or
Yeah, I mean, my mom is a huge movie buff. It's where I get a lot of my, mannerisms.
yeah,
So it wasn't bad. But it was just funny sitting there like the first scene, and then it's probably a good 20 minutes of this movie. Emma Stone is naked and having sex.
yeah, yeah? That's not an exaggeration. Which is, I give her so much credit, like, because that's not like that's just a whole nother realm of like getting over like self-awareness, even to like just acting in general. I feel like is a lot of that, but just being naked, like it's a lot. And I honestly feel like more so as a woman, like just because there's a lot. I think there's a lot more, maybe like not stigma, but you know what I mean. It's just a little different.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's a crazy performance by her. It's a crazy performance from like pretty much everyone in this movie.
Yeah, and it's her first naked scene, like in her filmography.
Yeah, like full on.
Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I think she's just really, really good. I'm excited to see. And they have another movie, Yorgos and Emma Stone this year, which I'm really excited about.
really.
Yeah, so they basically they were working on this movie. It's called Kind of Kindness.
Okay.
And I think they were shooting it during COVID, and it kept getting pushed back and pushed back and pushed back. And then they ended up working on Poor Things, and then I think going right back to this. So the releases are pretty much like very closely staggered, obviously. But basically what it's going to be is 3 separate, like not short stories, but like almost short films spliced into one. And I think they're all going to tie together in some way, but it's almost like 3 short movies in the course of one movie. So you have Emma Stone, you have Willem Dafoe again. Obviously it's Lanthimos directing, and I think I'm going to forget, there's a couple other big actors involved, but I'm really looking forward to that. And just seeing her back with Yorgos immediately is exciting, I think.
Oh, absolutely. I'm fearful for Oscars night whenever Jimmy Kimmel butchers the name Yorgos Lanthimos.
Is he hosting?
Yeah, he's hosting again.
What do you like Jimmy Kimmel?
No.
Something about him like comes across like it's just my like gut reaction. I just viscerally do not like him. I think he comes across as a very mean person, I think.
Yeah.
Like I feel like he says things in a way that's like not It doesn't feel like he's joke. I don't know. It's like a very weird. It's difficult to describe, but I just do not like him and like the way he talks about people. I feel like he'll kind of like put people down as he's interviewing them sometimes.
Epstein's Island will do that to
Yeah, I mean, allegedly,
you.
allegedly that's complete bullshit. But still, regardless, I do not like him, and I've never liked him. So
Yeah, I haven't either, and I'm not excited that he's coming back to host.
yeah, I feel like maybe they. I mean, after seeing how it went at the Golden Globes, maybe they just want. I mean, not that I'm sure he was signed on way before that, but it's nice having a reliable,
Yeah.
proven commodity, I guess, as a host.
Honestly, give me Jimmy Fallon though to host. I feel like he'd be good.
Yeah, I like him a lot more. I agree.
Yeah, I feel like that's a general consensus. Like everyone kind of likes Fallon more.
Yeah, I think he's a much more likable guy, but I think Jimmy Kimmel is probably more famous, I guess, and that more like slightly more, I think, like facial
Maybe.
recognizability and name, but I like Fallon better.
Yeah. Did you see Ricky Gervais wants to host next year's with Dave Chappelle?
That's I don't know how that would go. It would be
Oh, it'd be amazing.
It would do numbers, like people would watch, but that could go really off the rails. And wait, you're
I
talking,
think it'd be
talking about the
hilarious.
Golden Globes?
No, they want to do Oscars next year.
Okay,
Gervais and Chappelle. Well, Gervais wants Chappelle to do it with him.
that would be something. I guess we'll see, but starting an early campaign.
Yeah, that would be hilarious. Let Will Smith try and slap one of them.
Yeah, but I guess I will say, to give the Golden Globes a small bit of credit, I think a lot of what, and I literally almost couldn't care less about those awards, but I think the choices were fairly good. And seeing Poor Things, I think it won Best Musical or Comedy. I think that was the right choice. It's really good, and if this won Best Picture, like I'm not going to sit there and be mad. Like,
Yeah,
I think it probably will be Oppenheimer.
I think it should be Oppenheimer.
But if this were to win, I would prefer it over a lot of what else is going to be nominated. Like, to be completely honest.
Yeah, I mean, I would prefer it over American Fiction, over Past Lives, The Holdovers, Maestro, obviously, Barbie.
Yeah.
I haven't seen Zone of Interest, so I won't speak on it.
Yeah, nobody's seen it.
Yeah, I'm probably gonna watch it sometime this week.
Is it? Are you like? Is it showing at theaters around you?
I think it's on streaming or like you can rent it now.
Okay, because I think also I guess it might have gotten a wider release, but it was basically showing nowhere. Like I know Stone drove to like New York to see it.
Damn.
Which, have you seen Under the Skin, his other movie from
No.
Glazer's last movie? Okay, that's interesting. If you ever have the time to watch with Scarlett Johansson, it's really odd.
Okay.
But it's like a horror movie. But that was his last movie, and I think it was like 10 years ago. So I'm interested to see it. But yeah, I would prefer Poor Things over the movies you just named.
The three that I would be okay with taking home Best Picture be Oppenheimer, Poor Things, and Across the Spider-Verse.
Yeah, I mean, will Spider-Verse be nominated?
I think it is.
That would be interesting. I didn't even put that in my top 10, to be honest. And like I love the movie. I struggle with putting, like, I feel like I get way more emotional connection with live action stuff.
Okay.
But at the same time, like the amount of work, like it blows my mind thinking about the amount of work that goes into making something like Spider-Verse. Like just in terms of like human effort and like artistry, it's nuts. And I mean, voice acting is an art too. It's just as legitimate as regular acting. I mean, like character acting. So, yeah, it wouldn't make me mad. It would be wild though.
Yeah, I don't see it winning that. It should 100% be taking home Best Animated Film though.
Yeah, I think without a doubt.
I don't think there's really much competition for it this year.
Yeah, and I'm excited to see. I'm excited to see like the future of animation, and like more like even though I don't prefer it necessarily, like I still enjoy it, and I'm excited. Like I would be there's it gives you freedom to do a lot of other things and do things that you can't do in live action. And like I talked about the Lord of the Rings movie coming next year, and that's animated.
Yeah.
So like I think as more big IPs have big animated projects, it'll be cool to see like if it just takes off and does really well, and what things they try to do in the same way.
Speaking of animation, I was thinking about this the other day because I was rewatching Coraline. Whatever happened to stop motion animation? Like that was so big for a decade, and now it's just nowhere besides Wallace and Gromit.
Yeah, it really kind of feels like it's like a moment in time when you're watching it. And that would be something I'd be curious to look into in terms of like why was there movement away from it, or like what exactly happened, or I don't know if it was just like the way the industry moved, or like what exactly factors into that. But that would be interesting to look at.
Yeah, I mean, arguably there's more work that goes into that than, Oppenheimer. Maybe not Oppenheimer, but along those lines, like it's a lot of work. It takes years to make those movies, so it's maybe just
Yeah, I
people
mean,
weren't
yeah,
wanting
I
to do it
think
anymore.
that versus something like The Holdovers, which like it's a good movie, but it's like relatively simple to make. So yeah, it's interesting to think about.
Yeah. So anyway, back on topic. This was my first Yorgos movie I've ever seen.
And were you like, I guess to kind of think about like what he does, were you a fan of like the dialogue and the humor and kind of like the way it flowed, or was it weird to you, or like what stood out about like kind of the direction and like that style?
No, I was actually genuinely surprised. I like that, so obviously Emma Stone we're seeing basically be raised through life. So I liked in the beginning I was in gray and black and like she's just confined to the one house. So it's kind of boring and mundane to her, but I like that immediately when she leaves, all of a sudden it's in color. Like everything's bright and beautiful like it was when we were kids. Not to be on a depressing note, but it seems like the world just isn't as colorful as it once was.
Yeah, and I think that was a cool move in terms of like, um, you know, showing kind of like the way that kind of absorbing everything about the world can be so like overwhelming and vivid, and like there's so much to take in, and like moving from black and white to color. And I also think that I don't know if that was after she had sex for the first time. Like I think it was in somewhat related to sex too. So like
I
just
think
kind
it
of the
was
idea of like everything just kind of changing and like seeing things in another way was just, it's a simple thing, but and I will say like when the first 20 minutes or so, um I was interested, but I was kind of like I was kind of like waiting for it to get going and like kind of feeling it out.
yeah.
Um but once it gets going, it's really something. I mean,
Yeah, the first act is definitely the slowest piece of this movie.
yeah.
And it didn't go down the path I thought it was because the scene where they're in God's um operating room and she takes scissors and stabs the corpse in the eye multiple times. Like I thought it was going to take it down a darker path of like
Yeah.
when she developed, like she was going to like maybe be like not a murderer, but
Like
like
somewhat
very
evil.
homicidal.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's the path I thought we were going to go down.
Yeah, which would be, I mean, there's really a whole nother movie there, and that would be an interesting story to tell. I feel like that would be more familiar, which is probably why like that might be how we were feeling. But I love that this is really, it feels unique. Like you don't feel like you're watching a story you've seen before. You don't feel like you kind of know all the twists and turns. They really did their own thing, and I mean, regardless of whether I like a movie or not, I love seeing something now that's like genuine and unique and like trying to tell a new story and just like not um regurgitation of old shit. So I appreciated it a lot.
Yeah, it seemed like 2023 was the year we got a lot of like new idea movies, which made me happy.
Yeah, and I think we saw a lot of stuff like that had gotten pushed back, like after COVID and stuff that was like waiting to come out. A lot of things were able to come to like fruition that we were kind of waiting around on. So it was a good year. I'm really excited for next year. But the year was strong, and like for me, like putting together a top 10 wasn't obvious. It wasn't the easiest thing. There's stuff that wasn't in mind that could be. So I think that's all you can really want out of a year.
Well, yeah, and there's still a few big ones that I'm missing. So I'm wrapping up my 2023 big watches now. So I'm excited to see where it lands then, but I have my 10 ready for today once we get to there.
Nice. Yeah, there's a few more things like smaller stuff that I wanted to see before I made mine, but I didn't. Like I watched Rye Lane yesterday, which is like a romantic comedy that I loved. I think would have been my 10, honestly, in my 10 spot. But that's like a smaller movie that like most people probably won't catch. But there's still a few more like that I want to see.
Yeah, I mean, I still haven't seen The Holdovers, which I know is like a big one that I need to see.
You'll love it. I think you'll genuinely love it.
Yeah, I've heard nothing but great things. Like I said, I haven't seen The Zone of Interest, and I haven't seen American Fiction yet, which I've heard good things about.
I haven't seen that either. I've heard good things, like generally good things. And I like Jeffrey Wright a lot. I think he's a good actor, so I'm curious about it. But I have not watched that yet either.
And then, so getting back on topic, I've never been shy of saying that I am not a Mark Ruffalo fan.
Yep.
So when I saw he was in this, I did go into it with a bit of a bad taste in my mouth, and he genuinely surprised me in this.
It's one of the funniest performances I've seen in years. Like,
Yeah.
and I'm not exaggerating. Like, he's clearly having so much fun. Like, he clearly was allowed to just be as ridiculous as he wanted to be. I wouldn't be surprised if there was a lot of improv in terms of like from a physical standpoint and also from the dialogue. And him and Stone have really good like comedic chemistry together. He's really funny, and I'm not his biggest fan either. And I was concerned I was going to go into this and like be like, okay, well, I love this and that, but like Mark Ruffalo was blah. But it was really, really funny, and the movie itself is hilarious. It's a great comedy. I think maybe that's like a sense of humor thing. I think I generally find Yorgos' movies to be really funny, so some people might not, and I wouldn't fault you for that. But I love the style of comedy.
Yeah, I'm excited to dive more into it. But to explain to our audience, Mark Ruffalo's whole, point to this movie is Rami Youssef comes in, Willem Dafoe takes him in from his class to study alongside Bella, played by Emma Stone, and eventually he falls for her, and he tells Willem Dafoe's character, God, that he wants to marry her, and God has them write up a contract that says they can do it as long as they live in that house forever. He gets a lawyer to come by, and the lawyer is played by Mark Ruffalo, Duncan. And Duncan is like, I have to see this woman who is so beautiful that she has to be confined to this house for her entire life. And then decides to take her to see the world.
Yeah, and I think he's basically kind of like, he's kind of slimy. He's kind of like a swindler, like fast talker. I guess has like been around with a lot of women, but like I guess meets Bella and she's so different from anyone else he's ever met. He really actually ends up like, I don't know if it's so much falling for her as maybe just like chasing after her because she gets to a point where she's just not that interested, like, and he's not used to that.
Yeah.
Which I think is something a lot of people have either, have been on one end or the other of that in their life. So I think it's relatable. But she just becomes kind of so disinterested, and it's so funny because it clearly just like completely gives him kind of just a meltdown in his mind of not being able to comprehend what's happening.
Yeah, absolutely. And I really enjoyed before I enjoy, one of the things I didn't actually like about this movie was there seemed like a lot of times in the dialogue, like they just told you exactly what was happening, like rather than the audience figuring out on their own. Like when we meet Ruffalo's character Duncan, immediately Willem Dafoe's like, oh, he's slimy, and all these other characters are like saying how he's not a good guy and he's just gonna try and like, treat Emma or treat Becca poorly. Bella, not Becca. Bella poorly. So I didn't like how there was all that and like they didn't just let the audience figure it out on their own. Like they could have played it off like he was a good guy there for a little bit, just trying to take her to see the world, and then we slowly figure it out on our own.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point, and I feel that way watching so many movies nowadays. I'm like, they will literally just read you what they want you to like, and I feel like this sounds. I don't know if it sounds mean, but like, I think they just think people are really dumb and like
Yeah,
need shit to be spoon fed to them. Um, and yeah, I mean, I felt that way watching the new Netflix movie. What was it called? The
May, December.
No, with a world at. I'm literally thinking at World's End, like Pirates of the Caribbean. But the one. Sorry. Um, Leave the World Behind. Leave the World Behind. I don't know. Did you watch that or no?
No, I haven't caught that one yet.
Okay, it's kind of like it gets a lot of social commentary, which doesn't bother me. But there's moments where like an actor will literally stand there and like just read you the takeaway or like read you what you're supposed to be thinking or feeling, and it's like you don't have to do that. And like I felt that way in Barbie too. It's like there was so much of characters just saying to the audience like the message, and it's like I think the strongest parts of Barbie were like my favorite scene was when she was sitting in the park just like looking around and like taking in like human interaction and the world and like people being treated badly and like people being happy and just kind of like seeing everything. And she was crying and then she ends up talking to the woman next to her. Like that's the best moment in the movie, but no one's telling you, like you're able to see what's happening without having someone tell it to you. So I
Yeah,
think a lot of movies rely on that. But a lot of people are really dumb. So like it is,
I was gonna say the one time or like the few times that I do enjoy it is like in Deadpool, like how he breaks the fourth wall to talk to the audience and tell them like kind of what to feel or like what's going on. That's when it's enjoyable. But I will say it's my biggest critique of Deadpool 2 is that they saw the success of one and they broke the fourth wall like too many times or tried too hard in number two.
yeah, and that's always the danger when something works is that it gets so overdone the next time.
Yeah.
Because they say, okay, this is the formula. We're just going to write that into every little bit of this that we can, and then it loses the like natural feeling of it. It feels forced, and like I think that happens with a lot of things. I think that happens like with Marvel in general now. I was thinking about this yesterday. I was watching the Echo show, and I was trying to think like what makes this not like what is holding this back? Like what is different than it used to be? And I think like so much of it feels forced, and that is the best word I can describe to like use to describe it. Um, it just feels like it's trying so hard to like be something or do something like, and it ends up being nothing because it's just like nothing about it feels natural. And I feel like I feel that way so much watching like MCU stuff now.
Yeah.
Um, and it's like difficult to put a finger on sometimes, but it just doesn't make you feel anything.
Quick sidebar on the MCU is I have come to the realization recently that I'm in the minority for liking Wakanda Forever.
Um, what makes you say that? Like, did you have an interaction with someone who didn't like it, or like what?
Recently, my For You page has just been filled with like a lot of MCU talk. Now one of the opinions I'll never trust is your favorite podcast movie guys on there.
Who
That
is
said
that?
the one I don't remember their name, but they said you feel
Oh,
every minute of Killers of the Flower Moon or whatever it
yeah,
was.
the Escape Pod. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah. It was one of them, and then I liked it, like just because some of the things they said I enjoyed, and
Yeah.
then like all of a sudden my For You page was flooded with like Black Panther is like the weakest like uh movies in the MCU, and like people are just shitting on it, and I was like, I enjoyed it.
Yeah, I think Wakanda Forever, I like the movie. I think some of it looked bad. Like some of the CGI was weird to me.
Yeah, I
And
felt that way about one.
yeah, man, it's the ending. Like that ending
Yeah,
is like it just makes you it's a shame. And I wish like you can just simplify those. Like fights don't have to have so much like extra shit. Like they can just be simple and still be really effective. Like think about the fight with um like Tony and Cat.
Yeah,
Like that's a bare bones. Just there's a room and there's two guys. There's emotional baggage and there's a fight and it's good and that's all you need.
yeah. It's
So
basically any fight scene with Winter Soldier.
yeah, um, as long, all you need is some decent choreography and emotion, and it's going to be powerful. So yeah, I agree with that. But yeah, that's what I didn't love about the second one, but I like the story. I think Namor was like fine. I see people talk about him as like one of the great villains. I don't really think that because I don't think he had that much
I might have
uh,
him top 5.
for the MCU.
Yeah,
I have to think about that. I kind like I'm curious about his character. Like I'm curious to see him do more. I just wasn't like I didn't feel blown away um when I was watching it. But I also
fair.
didn't see that in the theater too. I saw it at home, so I feel like that
Okay.
made it a worse experience.
Yeah, I saw it opening night.
Nice. That was probably a lot better.
Yeah, I enjoyed it greatly. Back to the movie. Um, so like is it Belfast is the first place they go where they have like the pastries?
Um, I'm trying to remember. I feel like they were in. Is it Belgium? I can't remember. You could be completely right. I'm struggling to remember, like, because they go to a lot of like different locations.
It might
Um,
actually be somewhere in Greece.
so they start out in Lisbon, Spain.
Lisbon. Okay, yeah. No.
They go to Alexandria. They go to Marseille, Paris, and everywhere they go, it's kind of like it's its own take on that place. It's kind of like more like fanciful and like fantasy like and like looks really cool visually. And they kind of give it its own spin, which I thought made it like really fun and kind of
Yeah, the
gave
colors in
them,
this movie are very vivid.
yeah, yeah. It looks great. It's the best looking thing he's made. Uh, but yeah, I mean, I really thought it was fun how they like kind of spiced up each of the different locations and they each kind of had their own feel to them.
Yeah. Did you pick up on all like the religious aspects of this movie?
Yeah. Here and there, like what specifically are you thinking about?
The three that stood out to me the most was Willem Dafoe's character calling himself God.
Yeah.
But he even makes the comment that like he's not the almighty God, he's just his own version of a God. Kind of the way he sees it by like creating life with Bella, putting a new brain in her and bringing her to life. I think is kind of where that stems from. So obviously that's like the one biggest in your face. But then number two is the first scene where Emma Stone, Bella, she I'll say pleasures herself. She uses an apple, which is like a
Yeah.
reference
Garden of
to
Eden.
Adam and Eve. And then the one that like I kind of researched a little too, and I heard like someone else speaking about this was the girl that God replaces Bella with is Felicity, and Felicity is a name of a slave in the Bible.
Yeah, I thought that was interesting. And to give context, once Bella's gone, like they basically just kind of recreate her and just kind of start it over again. Um, and you can see he really just kind of sees it as like an experiment and something to like hold his interest and like put his time into. Even though I think he definitely does love her in some way. Like I think like that performance from Willem Dafoe is very interesting, and I think it's not going to win awards, but like it probably is deserving of that
Yeah,
because there's a lot to the character. Like he's not just black and white. He's not evil. He's not, just nice and benevolent. He's like somewhere in the middle. Um, and I think a lot of what you learn about him is like he was treated awfully by his father. He was abused. He went through all kinds of like scientific experimentation. So like that's kind of like his sense of love and like how he's like grew up being treated. So that's like kind of like what he knows. but I think he genuinely does care about Bella at the same time in his
Yeah.
own way.
No, I think he does too, and he even comments on that when they're talk or when Felicity's there later on in the movie about how he was like, I let the science get behind me and I actually cared for Bella. That won't happen again. Something along those lines.
Yeah. Yeah, and at the same time, like, what do you think was his motivation, I guess, in terms of just like keeping her there? Like, what was his primary motivation?
I think it stems back to him saying he took over the practice, like all his science and everything, and then like teaching students from his father. So I was thinking, or maybe he thought that he could eventually stem Bella into that life as well, and she would take over his practice and continue his research.
That's interesting. Um, I like that take. And I also just think like she just feel like you really I think you feel for her because she's so like sheltered and just like she doesn't have a say in anything that's happening to her or has happened to her. She made her own decision like to take her own life, which is awful obviously, but like she then is losing, even though she's gone, she's losing her autonomy, like her body's losing its autonomy with what happens to her. So it's just like you do feel for her. But then I feel like that's what makes seeing her develop over the course of the movie so satisfying and enjoyable because she changes so much. And like it's not all at once, like it's really gradual, which I think is cool, like to slowly see kind of the development of her mind, the way she looks at the world, the way kind of her small interactions with side characters help shape that. Um, it's really well done and it's not rushed. It doesn't feel like it drags out too long. I think it's a perfect kind of arc.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, we both said the first act is probably the worst act, but it's also the most crucial, showing that she can only learn like 10 to 15 words a day. Like her motor functions aren't there. She can't catch a ball. Like showing the development of a child,
Yeah,
basically.
and
With,
it does feel a tiny bit tedious at times, but like that also just does help to set everything else up so well and like set up her growth. Because like if they spent like a 5 minute montage on that, it just wouldn't hit as hard later on when you see
oh
her.
yeah, we'd be critiquing that right now.
Yeah, exactly. Uh, so did you end up watching Past Lives?
Yes.
So that's one of the things I said about Past Lives. You spend like 5 minutes with them in Korea in their childhood. I don't care about it's a normal childhood. They're just like throwing a ball, like, oh, we're friends. And then it's like 12 years later, he's like trying to hunt her down on the internet. Like, why? Like,
Yeah.
tell me why. What do these people like about each other? What do they know about each other? Nothing. They don't talk about anything. Like, I that's a whole that's a whole other conversation.
I
But
was
I
gonna
think
say
the
we'll
movie is
discuss that here at the end
crazy overrated. But
because we're gonna disagree on it a little, but you're gonna have the better take on it. We'll just leave it at that for now.
okay. Uh
Speaking of side character interactions, though, I hope I pronounce his first name right, but Jared Carmichael.
yeah, Gerard.
Uh, oh, it's Gerard. Okay,
Yeah.
Gerard Carmichael. I enjoy him in everything I've seen him in.
Yeah, he was hilarious.
Yeah, and his character, I think, was arguably one of the most crucial characters in Bella's development.
In terms of like her philosophy and whatnot, and kind of like how she ends up looking at the world.
Yeah, and like how she like saw like the people who were you know I'm trying to think of the
Suffering.
right word, but like yeah,
Yeah,
poor, like struggling for life. Um, so I think he her seeing that really changed her perspective on everything.
yeah, and I think that was an interesting moment because it kind of shows the way people who show like even though she obviously was in a horrific situation that was not by her own doing, like she did grow up like in wealth, like she had whatever she wanted, whatever she needed, like she was taken care of. Everything around her was really nice, like there was no you know suffering in that kind of way. So like she has this moment of seeing, I think it was in Alexandria, she sees like um basically a bunch of poor people all clumped up, dying, starving, like, and is like, what is that? Like, what's going on here? Like, I need to help those people. And I think that moment of having the realization of like, okay, not everyone is me, not everyone has my upbringing. Like, um, was interesting and like pretty powerful. And also I think there was some commentary there on the way people think like they can fix it, or like just like throw money at something or throw something that is temporary at a problem or people that are struggling and it'll just fix them or help them, in reality is like so naive. But like that's all she could really do and think to do. So I think that was a good moment.
Yeah, and also it's like the moment, like they were declining before, but it's really where you see her and Duncan's relationship fall.
Yeah.
Like that's the big pivot.
Yeah, because she basically takes all his money that he won and tries to give it away, and just gets also swindled by, she gives it to someone who says they're going to give it to the poor people and then just walks off with it. But
Yeah,
like her naiveness, you see it in so many ways, and you see it taken it, like you see the way the world will take advantage of you over and over again if you are naive. And it happens to her kind of at every turn until she eventually gets to the point where she takes control at the end and is able to like have awareness of like what the world is actually like.
yeah, absolutely. Um, and it's also just like kind of a hard scene to watch as well because Gerard Carmichael's character, Harry, he even talks about like babies are dying down there and there's nothing you can do about it.
Yeah.
Like it's such a real raw moment.
Yeah. And he, I mean, he really is kind of, I guess, the voice of like reason, and almost maybe to like a jaded, like extreme extent of just like over realism, which I think is sometimes ironic coming from someone who also I think is privileged. Uh, but at least he has a sense of like the world just maybe to like another extreme, like almost the exact opposite of like her naivete.
Yeah, 100%. And then from there we get to is it Paris or is it
Yeah,
France?
they end
I
up
know it's France. Is
yeah,
it Paris though?
I think they're at Marseille, and then they end up in Paris, and that's where she
Okay.
ends up working, um,
Yeah.
as you know, as like a sex worker, basically.
Yeah, she pretty much gets hired onto a brothel. And honestly, I've seen a lot of I looked up like plenty of reviews for this movie prior to this just to prepare and then like did my own research, everything. Not enough people are talking about Catherine Hunter because I loved her in this role.
It's really, really good. How do you like? How do you view her character in general?
Like as a good or bad person.
Yeah, like her philosophy, the her interactions with Bella, like how she is, and like also I guess explain like what her role is too.
So yeah, her role, she plays Swiney, the I guess leader of the brothel. She kind of runs everything. I she's not a great person, but I think she's a person who understands what needs to be done and is willing to do anything to do it. Because we see that she is taking care of what was it her nephew or was it her son? I feel like it wasn't her kid.
No, I think it was someone
Uh,
else's.
but like, I mean, she's doing what she has to do in order to, take care of her family. It's a shitty life. I mean, it sucks. And she kind of explains that to Bella when she gets there after Bella tries to argue with her a little. And then we see her kind of taking care of her there at the end.
Yeah, I think it's interesting because like I think part of me felt like okay, she's trying to manipulate Bella in the same way that like kind of everyone else has, just in a different way and as a woman. Um, but at the same time, she's not forcing her to do anything. She is telling her exactly what it is. She's giving her the opportunity, and at that point, like it's not really the audience member's role, I guess, to determine whether or not Bella should be doing what she's doing. Like it's Bella's choice. So, um, I feel like it's kind of like Bella's between a rock and a hard place, and it's like, well, you can go out on the street and just not have any money or place to live, or you can stay here and I'll pay you not enough to do this work, but like it is what it is. So it's as in a lot of the movie, I think it doesn't really lay out to you how to feel. And there's not really a black and white answer, which I like. Same as we talked about with Willem Dafoe. Like Is he perfect? No. Is he evil? No. Is he the best person? No. It's somewhere in the middle, which is what most of what life is. So I like that.
Yeah. Well, and I've been thinking more too about back to your question earlier about why he wanted Bella to stay in the house so bad. My other thought process as we've been talking here is also like, especially me as a future parent now of a daughter, um, is she is what, like, maybe has the mind of a 2-year old at that beginning stage. So like, you wouldn't just let your kid go walk around the streets, even
Yeah.
though she looks like she's an adult and would be able to. Like, that
Yeah.
could be
That
the
that
other
honest
aspect
that
of it.
honestly makes it worse almost because
Yeah.
like I think people like more people will just like try to take advantage of you
Oh yeah.
uh, in any variety of ways, especially if they realize like you're not there mentally in terms of like being able to deal with any situation that happens to you. A kid, at least someone might be like, "Yo, what are you doing? Like, we need to bring you home." You know
Yeah.
what I mean? So
Like I'll see a kid just walking like, down a side street here and jokingly be like, "Where are your parents?" Like,
yeah, like it's yeah. I mean, but yeah, being her, I do understand that like from a protective standpoint, you do kind of see that like overly, and as she gets older, I guess it merges into overly protective, but like he also may not even have a sense of like where she's at mentally in terms of like being able to handle herself, and he might like underestimate her ability to go out in the world and like be okay, which I think a lot of parents do, and they probably have a lot of fear around that, like letting go of their kid and like because anything can happen to you, like it's just that's the world.
which is baffling to think about because when I was growing up, I would be in the woods for like 4 hours. Like no cell phone, no nothing, just exploring.
Yeah, yeah, um, yeah, and I guess that's being part of growing up is like there's just risk involved in existing. Like anything can
Well,
happen
yeah.
to anybody, and like parents only have so much ability to control some things, and I think there are parents that are like end up too much on one side or the other, but it's not easy.
Yeah. Diving back into it. Um, it was funny. So when they first get to Paris, you see that Bella pulls out the like emergency money that God left her. And then Mark Ruffalo's character just steals it, runs away. And I thought that was gonna be the last we saw of him. And then we see him again 10 minutes later. He's outside the brothel, just like yelling Bella's name, wanting her back still.
Yeah, I thought it was a really funny scene. And at that point, she's just so over it. Like she just has realized, like, I don't actually like this person. This was just like all I knew. Um, which again, I think is like really relatable. It's like there's a lot of people together in the world that like are only kind of together because like it's convenient or like it's just all they knew at the time. And a lot of people's first relationship, I think, is like that sometimes.
Yeah.
So I think that was kind of like a fun, relatable aspect of the story.
Yeah. Well, and then also one thing we skipped over too is like I think this is where we see the biggest development from Bella. Like we see a gradual one, all the way up to this point. But here, when she starts to work for the brothel, she tells Spiny, she was like, I only want to do, I think she says once a day. And then she goes, and then I want to have time to go to school or like go to class. Like, so she's really starting to develop and like learn.
Yeah. Yeah. I feel like she gets like maybe one good thing about her relationship with Willem Dafoe's character is like I feel like he instills in her kind of a desire to learn. Um, and I think we always kind of get like we might get some negative traits from our parents, but we also get the good ones. And like I think that's one of the best things about him is like his scientific curiosity, and she gets all of that too. So it ends up being a positive.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't remember in the movie, do they say how God figures out where she is? Because we see God's health start to like deteriorate and he's not going to be able to save himself like he was in the past. So they get a postcard to her.
Yeah, there's a conversation. Um, I want to say if it's Rami Yusuf's character, I think he talks to them, and because I think Mark Ruffalo comes to him and tells him where she is, and they have that
Yep.
moment together where they're talking about it, and then
That's what it is.
yeah, and Rami Yusuf I really liked here too. I
Yeah.
thought he did a really nice job. He's like a likable guy. Um, kind of just respects her and appreciates her for who she is and doesn't judge her. Um, I feel like he's kind of a good model for like how to be if you want to take something away from this movie.
Yeah, I almost wish that we got more screen time with him.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. I'm trying to think exactly what that could have looked like, but he was a good character. Maybe a little bit more with him and Bella together would have been nice. But I'm glad he was in it. He did a nice job.
Yeah, 100% agree. So then Bella comes back to see God and Max again. Spend some time with them, and then Bella's past all comes rushing back from before she committed suicide.
Yeah.
With Christopher Abbott's character Alfie coming back and claiming that Bella was his wife, which she was. Do you remember her other name?
I don't. I don't remember like the mother's name, like the body.
Yeah, like her past lives name.
I don't remember.
Okay, either way, claims that they were together, and she decides to go see what her past life was like after she's been explained, the surgery and why she has developed the way she has. And then kind of just sees how shitty of a person her now ex-husband was.
Yeah, and he truly was awful. And I didn't quite expect that storyline to develop that, but I liked it. And he really just looks at her as property, and you see all the treatment that led to her taking her own life and like her being so miserable. Like he's a truly like despicable person, and easily the worst person you meet in this movie. So
yeah,
I guess I said earlier, no one's really black and white, but he definitely is just like straight up evil. So yeah, it's a good job by him, and seeing her kind of using all the things she's learned and like actually be able to like figure out a way to deal with the situation was satisfying. So yeah, I enjoyed that storyline a lot.
Yeah, I'd 100% agree. And then it really caught me off guard. Like one of the shittier things he does is like he has their housemaid come in to like with soup, and it's like a big pot, and then has the dog bark at her to scare and get it all over her. Like he's just a shitty person.
He's terrible.
But goddamn, the ending was funny.
Yeah,
so,
truly. I think nowadays, like, I feel like there are so many like bummer, just like downer endings, and seeing one. I mean, it's not a spoiler. Like seeing a positive, upbeat ending was just really nice. I feel like it was very satisfying. And the movie itself, in general, I think is just a very satisfying watch, and it leaves you feel better than when you started. So, that's a nice change from a lot of movies this year.
Well, I'm not even referring to that too. What I completely agree with everything you said, but I was thinking it's hilarious how they know he's such a shitty person. And Willem Dafoe, we see all throughout the movie, he has these weird experiments. Like he has a dog's body with a goose's head on it, like operating like that because he just keeps switching brains of different creatures. And so he puts a goat's brain in Bella's ex-husband.
Yeah, which is like seriously messed up, but like also hilarious because he's such a turd. And like,
yeah, but they make you hate him so much that like, you find it hilarious.
Yeah, it's fully earned and makes it really, really funny.
Yeah.
And seeing Bella at the end just like fully as a person and like, really intelligent and just like on her shit is like really cool.
Oh yeah, and then it's genuinely, I think, maybe Emma Stone's best acting performance that I've seen her in.
It's definitely the best, I think.
Yeah, from like everything, like, but the physical acting was one of the most impressive.
Yeah, because it's just like that's just a whole nother world. Like it's a whole nother skill set. And she nails it. Like you believe like that you're watching what you're being told you're watching. Which it easily could not have been that way. This could have been a really bad movie. Like with not as good actors, like this could be rough. But they're all so talented, like it just works.
I mean, she was arguably already there, but I think this shot Emma Stone up in the top actresses working today.
Yeah, yeah, easily. And like I said, I'm really excited for the movie this year with Yorgos, and then who I don't know what's next, but I'll watch whatever.
Zombieland 3.
Yeah, um, and I'm sure she'll be like even higher, more sought after this performance.
Yeah. Probably my last thing on like the whole thing with her ex-husband, and we're seeing how shitty of a person he is. My gut feeling, like when I left the theater, was that there should be more background on her past, but like truly, like I feel like it was short amount of time, but it wasn't rushed. It felt like I actually enjoyed like how much time we spent there.
No, and I think like I feel like that's where so many movies like fail in that last bit where like they don't know how much time to put into whatever that is, like whatever that thing is that like needs to be told at the end. And I feel like this was the perfect amount of time. You got the gist of the scenario. It made you feel what you were supposed to feel, and then it was satisfying. And like I think it's really easy to mess up endings like that.
Yeah, no, I 100% agree with that. Any final thoughts on Poor Things?
Um Final thoughts. Yorgos is one of my favorite directors working today. This was maybe the movie I was most excited for this year, and I was just happy to not be disappointed. It ended up being better than I thought it would be. Um, Everyone should just go watch the rest of his work because it's all really good. There's
Yeah,
only one.
I'll be doing a deep dive into it now. I'm very excited.
Nice, nice. There's only one left I haven't seen, and it's his oldest from 2015, Dogtooth. Um, But yeah, Killing of a Sacred Deer, The Favorite, and The Lobster are all great. And if you like this, you'll like them. So check those out.
Yeah, very excited. All right. Did you rate this on Letterboxd,
Um,
even though you're keeping it a secret?
I think I have it at 5 stars.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
I I want to rewatch it, but right now I have it at a 9.4 out of 10 or 4.5 stars.
Nice. Yeah, I wouldn't argue with 4.5, 5. I think
Yeah,
it's
it's an
really, really
appropriate rating.
Yeah.
Let's check real quick. Its average on Letterboxd is a 4.3.
Yeah, and I've seen. Have you looked at like criticisms at all of this and like people that didn't like it?
I've seen a handful, but they're all pretty poor like reviews, honestly.
Yeah, I think that's something I find interesting is like looking like stuff I like looking at opinions of people that don't like it. I think it's interesting to see um, and kind of get different viewpoints and then stuff I don't like looking at people that did like it. But um, the only thing I've really seen as like a consistent argument is that like it uses sex too much as like a definition of like I guess autonomy. Um, Maybe not just as a person, but like as a woman. But like I just don't like there's so much more to it. Like I feel like she learns so much in so many different small ways. Um like I think sex is obviously a big part, but I feel like there's just way more going on. And like maybe you miss some of it if that's what you think, but I don't think that's a good criticism.
Well, yeah, I mean, the first line of my review was visually stunning analysis of sexual independence, spiritual exploration, and a heavy touch of religion. Like,
Yeah. Yeah,
well, and
it goes into like multiple different angles of like just being a person. Like
yeah, I'm looking at reviews right now for like bad ones, and everyone's just saying like, why are people praising a pedophile movie? Like, because Emma Stone's a child in it,
yeah,
technically.
no, no.
Um, Women don't even get bodily autonomy once they're dead. Like,
Yeah, just like I think if you want to like that's not the intention of the director. Like that, and then that's not the intention of Emma Stone being in this movie. Like, please use your brain, and like you have to
yeah,
consider intention. Like, I just there's nothing negative intended in the making of this movie, and like it's a mockery of men in every facet. Like you see like an egotistical scientist who thinks he can control women and their body, and you see a ridiculous like chauvinist like who thinks he's the shit basically in Mark Ruffalo, and you see a complete psycho in her ex-husband who like thinks she's like property, and like you see all these people taken apart. Like it's it's funny. It's not like it's satire. It's not, there's none of that stuff that people are writing is like anywhere remotely close to accurate, I think.
Yeah. Here's one of the worst ones I read is half a star for Emma Stone and Emma Stone only. If you think this is a bad acting performance, then you just haven't watched any movies ever.
Yeah.
Or didn't understand the movie.
Yeah. And I mean, I don't know. People frustrate me sometimes, but I haven't seen anyone review this and not like it, like anyone whose opinion I value. So
yeah, same. Like I think the lowest opinion of ones that I value so far that I have seen is a 3.5 star.
From who?
Cam Walsh. He's one of the guys on Real Talk podcast.
Okay.
I like his opinions a lot. But anyway, back on to more of our episode. So before we get into our top 10 movies of 2023, what's your most surprising movie of the year?
I think my most surprising movie of the year, and another like a beautiful thing about this year is like there's a lot of options here. There's a lot of ways to go. I think there's also positive and negative ways to go, but I think, to keep it positive, I'm going to say Bottoms. I thought it was really, really funny. I didn't expect that much. I loved how bizarre it was. I think it went a lot weirder than I anticipated, and I enjoy that. I think the comedies in general a lot of times just don't hit for me anymore like they used to, and especially like ones that are kind of more ensemble-y and not just around like a couple people or something. Marshawn Lynch was hilarious. Him alone could be one of the biggest surprises. It's just a weird, funny, solid movie, and I really enjoyed it. What's yours?
I have two for most surprising, one of which was Gran Turismo.
Still haven't watched it.
Dude, so I saw the trailer 1,001 times in theaters, and I was like, I've seen the entire movie. I have no need to watch it. And honestly, I was genuinely surprised, and I had a great time with it. And I don't care about racing at all.
Yeah, and I've heard so much positivity around it. And it's on Netflix, right? So I should just watch it. I should watch it. I will be watching it.
And a lot of people probably won't agree, but honestly, I wouldn't be mad if David Arbor got nominated for an Oscar for supporting actor.
Really? It was that good?
I think his performance was fantastic.
Damn, that's just, that category is so fucking stuck. It is nuts. Like
it really, and when you compare it to who else is nominated, like we have, honestly, I'm not crazy about Bradley Cooper in there for Maestro, but I get it.
Well, he would be actor, right? Not supporting.
Oh yeah. Thanks for keeping me in check. We got De Niro in Killers of the Flower Moon, Gosling for Barbie, RDJ for Oppenheimer, Mark Ruffalo, Poor Things, and then Charles Melton for May December. Yeah,
and then Dominic Sessa for The Holdovers would be up next probably, and that's his first fucking time acting, which is so ridiculous to me. But yeah, it's a nuts category this year.
Honestly, I'd be okay with getting rid of Charles Melton.
Really?
He was good in it, but I don't know. He just didn't stand out a lot to me.
I thought he was good. I'm seeing all this shit now about how the kid who the movie's basically about came out and was like, yeah, I don't fuck with this movie at all. And they didn't consult me, and I don't like this. And seeing that, I was just like, man, when I spoke about it, I felt like it was so close to being hypocritical of itself, but still important. And seeing that, I'm just like, it just pushes me further towards being like, this is what it's making fun of. It's so tough.
See, I actually wasn't even that crazy about that movie when I watched it the first time.
I liked it because it's what Hollywood does. Like, they don't give a shit about these people. They care about selling the story. And like Natalie Portman just puts that on display. And like that is important. And it's just like the mockery of like all the bullshit Lifetime movies that are like that. And like half the time they're dealing with like real people. They're dealing with murders or like awful shit that happens, and they just turn it into a bad movie and just give it to you as slop and people eat it up. So I liked that self-awareness, but like you are dealing with a real person's story. Even though like, you're not using their name, and it is different because Natalie Portman's character is introduced, and that's like that is the crux of the movie. But like it is based off his story, and anyone who watches this is going to look into that. And I don't know, man. It's like it leaves me feeling a little bit just like gross about it. I don't know.
Yeah. What's surprising to me is I have not seen one thing yet about Natalie Portman as best supporting actress or best actress, whichever category she really falls into. And I think she deserves it.
Yeah, she does. It's a really, really good performance. It's a interesting movie, I'll say at the least, because like it makes you think, and it's people will remember it. I think I've seen it on as people's best movie of the year. I've seen it get shit on. It's divisive, but it's interesting, and I prefer interesting over, I guess, not. But
I mean, I'm somewhere in the middle on it.
Yeah, it's tough to put my thumb on, I think.
Yeah, that's fair. And then what's your most disappointing of the year? I also have two for this.
Most disappointing of the year? Like, I'm gonna be real. Like, I want to say Past Lives, because like I watched it so late and I heard so much about this movie, and it just did not do it for me. But like, I'm not gonna say that because I think it's Rebel Moon. That movie's fucking just dumb. And like I made a video, if you go back months and months and months ago, like when they first started talking about that, and I was like, oh, it's like this Star Wars Akira Kurosawa crossover. It's gonna be sick. Like,
I was so excited for it.
And then I watched it, and like it's so just sterile. Like it's a sterile movie. It's just like sad, like just nothing, man. Like no heart, nothing interesting, just bland, generic. I could literally go to some AI program and say, write a story about a rebellion in space with the evil empire, and there's a woman who's the main character, and she's putting like it would write this shit. Like It was so just, and it's not even a terrible movie. It's just like I'm never watching it again.
The only reason I would go back and watch it again would be to keep a timer out for how long of the movie takes place in slow motion.
I literally had that exact. I want to do that so bad, but I don't want to fucking sit through it again. But I want to do exactly that. So
all right. We'll figure out how long the movie is. You take the back half. I'll take the front half.
Honestly, we should coordinate that. I'm down. We do a collaboration. That would be really funny. So,
yeah, I fucking hated it. I wanted to like it so much.
Do I even watch the second one? Like, I don't know.
You know what's my favorite part about the entire movie?
What?
Is the fact that Charlie Hunnam died. Because I really like him, and now he is out of this franchise.
Yeah, his character was really just like the Irish accent. Like, I don't understand. He went with like this really specific like Belfast accent. It's just like fucking weird. Like, I don't know, man.
Yeah. Well, I like him in almost everything else he's in, so I'm happy he died in this, so we don't have to see him in this franchise again.
He's a good actor. Like,
yeah, he plays one of the most iconic characters in television history.
Yeah,
or at least for our generation.
No, I mean, Sons of Anarchy is it's an all-time show. I think. Like, it's yeah, that's a fair take.
So that's one of my most disappointing of the year. One of my two. My other one was Napoleon.
Yeah, I think that's a lot of people's. I defended it more than most people, but I'm not mad at you about that. I understand.
Yeah. I don't think it's as bad of a movie as people are saying online. I think my issue with it is it was my most anticipated of the year, and so I was just very let down by it.
It's tough because it like more than anything, it ended up being like kind of really funny. Like it's a funny movie, and it's
Yeah,
really fucking weird. Like it's very strange. And I don't think it always meant to be funny, but they really leaned into that. And like Joaquin Phoenix, at the end of the day, like he's not very good in it. I'm just gonna keep it real. Like it's not a great performance.
yeah.
Um,
I mean, there were some scenes I was like, yeah, that's Joaquin, and others I was like, he's just here for the paycheck. Like,
yeah. And Vanessa Kirby was awesome. It's a weird movie. This was, I mean, it really was a great year because there's so much to talk about. There's a lot of like unexpected stuff. There's a lot of like kind of subversion of expectations. It was a good year, but I like Napoleon more than most.
that's fair. All right. What's your top 10 of the year?
So my top 10 of the year, if I'm gonna be real, I made this. I think I'm gonna go with what I put out, which was like a week ago or so. Um, I've thought more about one of these movies, and we just talked about it, and I don't know about this now. And I also just watched one yesterday that would be in my 10th spot, but I'm gonna be honest and say what it was. So in 10th, I had Dream Scenario, which was the Nick Cage A24 movie. Um, I'm a huge fan of Nick Cage, and this was really fun for me. It has a lot to say about cancel culture and just virality, fame, the way you can blow up and be torn down in an instant. It's worthwhile. It's you know not the most groundbreaking thing, but really fun, especially
I'm
if
gonna
you're a
have
fan
to,
of
I'm gonna
Nick.
have to check that one out. Did you hear that he's retiring?
Yeah, I saw that. The man's worked a lot. You
Yeah,
know, he's put in the work. I think he's really hit the jackpot a few times here recently in terms of like, you know, I think he could leave now and be like, I gave some amazing performances at the end of my career, like really cemented myself. Like I kind of got past that, like, I mean, because he was broke and just making whatever for paychecks. Like he was bankrupt.
yeah.
So I think he wanted to kind of get past that and like actually do stuff he wanted to do, which he's done. So um, I think he said he wants to go into like TV and stuff, but I don't remember.
Okay.
But yeah, so check that out. My number 9 was May December. We just talked about it a lot. I've been thinking about it a lot, and I think it's really interesting to talk about. My feelings on this could change, but we'll see. My number 8 was They Cloned Tyrone, the Netflix movie with John Boyega, who we talked about earlier. Um, he's really, really good in this. Uh, I think it was a lot of fun, and I think it kind of had more to say than I expected. But Tiona Paris and Jamie Foxx were really good too. It's just a fun movie, innovative. I really enjoyed it. My number 7 was Infinity Pool, which was the Brandon Cronenberg horror movie from earlier this year with Mia Goth and Alex Skarsgård. That was it's one of the bigger surprises of the year for me. I really really enjoyed it. I did not expect to. It's bizarre, makes you think. Cronenberg, I think, is doing a lot of criticizing of himself in the movie, which is interesting to me, and his own like nepotism. It's a good watch. A lot of people did not like it, but I enjoyed it.
I was gonna say I'm
Uh,
adding that to my list so I can dive more into the horror genre.
yeah, man, check it out. And it's a lot more than just like it's not just like dumb schlocky horror. Like it's a movie with a lot to say. So I'd be curious to hear your take. Number 6 was The Holdovers. Just like it's a Christmas classic now. I think it's really strong. I know if you like Good Will Hunting, you're gonna like this. It's a similar-ish kind of dynamic with Sean and Will, and Paul Giamatti and Dominic Sessa are just amazing. And Davine Joy Randolph could win Best Supporting Actress, and it would be deserved. She was really good in it too. It's just kind of heartwarming. and it's really its own thing. I like it a lot. In fifth, I had The Iron Claw.
Okay.
Um, really blew me away. I like Zac Efron a lot as a person and as an actor. I think he's worked his ass off to change his career. He could have gotten lazy and just made bullshit for a long time and then just
Yeah,
fucked
played the
off.
hot guy role.
Yeah, I mean, it's he really made a conscious decision to like change the trajectory of his career, which is a risk because you can just be bad and then get just shit on by everyone and made fun of and like, but he really went for it and I respect him a lot. And everyone, I mean, Jeremy Allen White, it's just a really, really powerful movie. Um, and I like that it was like it's such a downer, but it still is hopeful and still has an ending that like gives you some kind of like positivity. So it just really spoke to me. My number four is Killers of the Flower Moon. Speaking of downers, um, I said this. I think it was the most important story told. I like when directors find stories from history that people don't know about and just lay it out because I love history and our country. Even you know, our country itself has a lot of history that is not common knowledge that should be. So I appreciated them for telling that. Is it perfect? No, but I loved it. I think Leo was so gross in it. I have a lot of respect for him. Lily Gladstone, De Niro, Scorsese. Um, I really liked it. My number three was Oppenheimer. I think it's crazy, crazy good. I think it's so much better than anything else Christopher Nolan has done, which we talked about. But like, I think he hit a new kind of peak. I mean, people talk about this movie and like, I don't think they quite understood sometimes. Like I just responded to a video of someone talking about how they thought it was like glorifying him and this and that. Like the movie is a not character assassination, but it's a honest look at the guy. He's a narcissist. He is super curious scientifically, and he felt some also, I think, as a in a distant third, a sense of duty, and like he was doing something that would help his country, and that's kind of what he was fed by the government and the military, and they used him like a tool, and then they threw him away and crucified him,
Yeah.
like, and he got played. The movie is not a positive picture of the government or him. So people that are calling it like propaganda, like this and that, like Harry Truman looks evil in that movie. Like honestly, so like
Oh, 100%.
I don't understand a lot of the takes, but I think it's a movie people just want to rip on because a lot of people liked it and it's
Yeah,
Nolan.
it's the
So
popular thing.
whatever. But that's my three. My two is Poor Things. I just loved it so much. It left me feeling a lot happier than Oppenheimer, and I do appreciate that. I feel like I watch a lot of shit that's like I think darker and like heavier, and sometimes it's nice to like just
Yeah.
not do that. Um, and it's just two of my favorite actors in Stone and Dafoe, and just a story I loved. And then my number one was Anatomy of a Fall, um, the French courtroom drama. The dialogue in that movie is crazy. Like um I'm talking like Social Network quality. Like it's nuts.
Okay.
And it's a movie that's so the words are so important. A lot of it is these two lawyers going back and forth, and it's basically you're watching um this woman's life be ripped apart after her husband dies and she's a suspect. She has her son who is blind, mostly blind. He's the only real witness who's around. And it's just kind of the two of them going through the process of this trial, the investigation. Nothing is spoon fed to you, doesn't tell you what to think, how to feel. She's not particularly likable, but is she evil? Did she kill him? You're able to decide. Uh, it's just brilliant. And like, once you start watching it, you need to know what happens, and you get so sucked into the dialogue and the way they speak, and just the artistry of like the argument in the courtroom. It's crazy. I loved it. So that's my number one.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to check that one out.
Yeah.
So my honorable mentions: I have The Killer, Creed 3, and Barbie.
I almost put The Killer in mine. Like the more I think about
My,
it, the more I like it. I like it a lot.
mine's like just outside of it. I rewatched The Killer after our Fincher episode, and I liked it better on rewatch. Honestly,
Yeah. And I think it's just like it's so weird because like if I put it in my top 10, I'm basically like I'm saying to anyone, if you go and sit down and watch this, you'll like it. Like you have to be really a fan of his, I think, to really enjoy it and like understand it and understand he's literally like dude is literally just making fun of himself, his fans, the way he's perceived, like his filmmaking, like everything. And it's like
yeah.
very interesting to watch. So I liked it a lot.
At my 10, I have Wonka.
Okay.
It was such a happy like watch. I didn't expect much out of it. Like I wasn't expecting Tim Burton bad, but I wasn't expecting it to be nearly as good as it was. And I enjoyed a lot of the aspects of that movie. And also, everyone's criticizing Timothy Chalamet singing. I didn't think it was that bad.
Yeah, I would love to see these people go try and like sing those songs. And the
Yeah,
songs are solid
exactly.
too.
Yeah.
I hate the Tim Burton movie, man. I don't like Tim Burton as a person.
Did you know they actually trained squirrels for that scene in that movie?
No, but that's wild.
Yeah. Part of the budget went to hiring a squirrel trainer.
Just seems like a waste of money, in my opinion. But
Yeah, 100%.
I don't know what squirrel trainers run you these days.
It's either like really cheap or way more than we are even thinking it could be.
Oh, for sure. Definitely a niche out there, I'm sure.
My number 9, I have The Covenant.
Nice. I really liked it.
I think that's a very forgotten about movie from
It is.
2023.
That's the thing, man. A lot of these movies from like earlier in the year, you just forget. Like, and that's the same way I felt with A Clone Tyrone. It just kind of crept out with Barbie and Oppenheimer. Like, it got put on Netflix, and like, I think a lot of people just missed it or forgot. And like,
Yeah.
Covenant, I really like too. It's a good movie.
Part of the reason for that too might be like Barbenheimer really brought people back to the theater. And then I think people realize like how much they like miss and enjoy going to the theater. So I think movies after that have been
Yes.
so much more successful.
Yes, movies rode the wave of like getting back in the theater for sure.
Yeah. My 8, I have John Wick 4.
Nice. Again, that's 11 for me. I think it was so good, and it pained me leaving it out of my top 10.
I have that at my number 2 in my John Wick rankings.
I think it's my favorite.
Really?
Yes, I think it's my favorite.
Yeah,
I think
I don't think that's a hot take at all.
good. Yeah, it was so good.
Number 1 is what I have at my number 1.
Yeah.
7, I have Killers of the Flower Moon.
Nice.
It was good. I just think it was a hair too long. I think it could have been a little shorter.
Okay.
But I mean, it's still an amazing movie, and I would like to see at least one Oscar go their way.
Yeah, I agree.
I don't know what for, but my number 6, another forgotten about movie, is Air.
It's the first one I'm going to disagree with you, but
Yeah, and I'm reading this now, and I feel like it's a little too high. It'd still be in my top 10.
Here's my question: will you rewatch it?
I have.
Really?
Yeah.
See, that's the kind of thing where I watch it and I'm like, that was really solid. I'm never going to watch this ever again. As I saw the story and I know it now, and okay. But I know a lot of people like it. I know that. I mean,
yeah, I really enjoyed it, especially when you think about it. Like 90% of that movie takes place in a boardroom, and they managed to keep my attention for the entire length of it.
Yeah, no, I agree.
My number 5 is Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3.
Excellent.
I think it's the strongest in the Guardians franchise.
Yes.
I don't know why people are disagreeing with that.
Nostalgia.
I mean, yeah, but
that's it.
Like, there's a bunch of people saying that it's the bottom of the 3, and
that's the dumbest shit I've ever heard. Second movie's like low-key bad.
Yeah. At best, it's mid.
It's just not that good. So
yeah, I mean, it has some funny Guardian scenes, like they all do, but it's really not all that great, and
yeah,
it's very forgettable.
I think where it struggles too is the tone is fucking weird because it's dark as shit. It's so dark. Like Ego is like crazy evil, but then it's like also like a Guardians movie that like, and he's not like cartoony dark like the villain in the third one. Like he's, you know, he's evil, but like he's like so out. Like Kurt Russell's like sociopath, like crazy shit. Like he's literally giving people cancer, like seducing them, giving them cancer to get a kid to sacrifice. Like it's crazy evil stuff. So
Yeah.
it just like feels like it's tonally not right.
Well, and one of the things I like most about number 3 though is the High Evolutionary feels like the first thing in a while in the MCU that's just pure evil. Like,
Yeah.
He has no real motive.
Yeah, and it's a good performance, and like it could have been boring or bland, but like he really put a lot into that, and it was fun. So
Yeah. And then one of the best lines in the movie and maybe of the year in cinema was, "I couldn't find God, so I became him." That's hard.
It is.
My number 4, I have Poor Things.
Nice.
Here's where you're really not gonna like me. My number 3, I have Past Lives.
No, I mean I think that's like a top 3 placement is like standard. Like I would say it's widely accepted. Like,
and I actually think you have the stronger argument here. But I think for me as to why it is so high in my rankings is, for the audience that doesn't know, my wife and I met in kindergarten, and we were like childhood friends through all of it, like through the Marine Corps and everything. So like, I think I just connected with this movie more, like,
Yeah.
you know, except we got married in the end. They parted ways in the end. And
yeah, I mean, I feel like you're right in terms of the people that had any kind. And like, there's multiple ways for this, I guess, to connect with you, whether that be as an immigrant. I think this movie is much stronger as a movie about immigration than a love story.
Yeah.
And just the difficulties. But then I feel like even there, it doesn't present, like, she doesn't seem like she struggled that much with immigration. She seems like she thinks Korea is this small place that can't support her and just is like, I'm out. Like, you don't, like, I don't know. She's something about that performance is just like so cold to me and just like simple. I don't know. Just didn't. And I just feel like he needs to get his shit together and like move on, bro. Like, go meet somebody else. Like, she's not that into you. Like,
100%.
it's just, I just like, man.
No,
I
yeah,
would give
like,
that some advice if I was his friend. I don't know.
if it was not for my wife, I would probably be in the same boat as you.
Yeah.
And it was funny too, because she was sitting on the couch next to me when I turned it on, but she was playing on her iPad, and she goes, "You and these fucking Korean movies." And then by the end of it, she was crying.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. I put out my video. It didn't get much traction, which is probably good for me because I felt like it got destroyed. But I had to get it out there. So,
dude, let the hate come your way. It just pushes your video more.
Yeah.
Speaking of which, congrats on hitting 1 mil.
Yeah, thank you for fucking Saltburn. Thanks.
That took me literally, I think I turned that movie off twice, and not like out of like anger, like boredom, like, but like I was just like doing stuff with my day, and I'm like, I'll get to it later. Like, I don't understand the hype around that movie.
It's some movies are just cultural moments, just like a moment in time, and it did that. And you know, props to Emerald and all of them for being a part of that. I will never, do that, so that's good for them. But just I don't know, man. There's a lot of better movies out there. I see people talking about that's their best movie of the year. I'm just like, what did you watch this year?
Yeah. Also, that's wild. And people keep talking about how the bathtub scene is like the worst scene. Like, why is no one talking about the grave scene at the end?
Yeah, and he improvised that, which is interesting. I
didn't know that.
My thing is, like, I don't think he loved Felix at all. Like,
yeah.
And I don't even like this is, and I don't want to phrase this in a bad way. I think a lot of people feel like it's a good movie for like queer representation, but it's two straight actors in it with a like flirtation ship where nothing happens. And I don't think Oliver actually has any love for him. Like, I think he's just kind of like interested in him, like like a predator, like interested in its prey. Like he's just kind of like studying him and like trying to figure out a way to maneuver himself to taking their shit. Like it's not a love story.
I
So like
think
I
he
just
more
think there's
loves.
so many better movies for like queer love stories and like representation. Like there's a lot of better movies. Like, this is not
Oh,
that. Like there's no love. So I
I
just
think he
don't
loves the idea
understand.
of Felix.
Yeah. Um I agree. And like he gives him, I guess, a little bit of like a taste of being someone or like having that status. And he's so like Oliver is so insecure and unsure of who he is and unsatisfied with his own good life that he's like, I just want more. But like again, and my point was you have someone Emerald grew up as one of the fucking people in Saltburn. That is her life. That's where she came from. So when that person makes a movie and they say, oh, all of you other people, you just want to be us and take our shit, it feels like to me the point of the movie is stick to your own economic lane. And that's not a good message. That's
Yeah.
a shitty message from a rich person. And like the fucking people that eat it up are you and me. Like, you know, not you and me, but like
Yeah.
people in our economic class. And it's like, do y'all get what she's saying here? Like, she's saying fuck off. That's
Yeah.
what I take
Well,
from it.
your line cracked me up on your review where you said this is an Eat the Rich movie made by a rich person.
Yeah, and see, I regret saying that because it got like 1,500 people to comment it's not an Eat the Rich movie. I don't think it's an Eat the Rich movie. I think it's a movie that's pretending what I wanted to say, what's pretending to be that. That's how it markets itself. But at the
Yeah.
end of the day, it turns around and says, you know who's worse? You. Like,
Yeah.
you who wants to be us. And like, that, I do regret saying that, but like, because I don't think it's an Eat the Rich movie. I think it's a like half-hearted one that pretends to be that and then says something else. So regrets, but whatever.
Back to the list. My number 2, Across the Spider-Verse.
Okay. Yeah.
You know my love for those movies.
Yeah, I'm not surprised. I feel like I could see next year the last one being in my top 10 because I want to see how the story ends.
Yeah.
Like,
I could see that one hitting a bill in the box office.
yes, I agree.
And then my number 1 is Oppenheimer.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it would have been my. I almost like. I feel like my list is a little bit. I'm trying to think of the word, biased, I guess, because like Poor Things, I just like I told you, I was like so excited for it forever. So I think I like I knew I was gonna like it, and then I watched it and just kind of like confirmed how much I liked it.
Yeah.
But Anatomy of a Fall was the one that just like took me by surprise and just like blew me away. So, I had to make that my number 1. But Oppenheimer is brilliant and deserving of that spot, I think.
Well, yeah. I mean, we're talking bias. I mean, past lives for me. Like,
yeah.
I mean, not that we immigrated or anything. We're both Ohio bred, but
yeah, but the story connected with you on a personal level where I don't have that, and like,
yeah,
it felt colder to me because there was nothing in me like bringing me back to anything. Like it's, you know, so I feel like I can look at their relationship or lack thereof more, like from a colder point of view, I guess.
Yeah, it's baffling to me to see some people have Barbie at their number 1 of the year.
I think I understand it. I think like it was a moment. Like I think as guys, there are a lot more moments, like cultural moments in movies that are like more exciting and more like geared towards men, I guess. Like and like a lot of superhero movies have been that way. Like a lot of like I just feel like that's and like big action movies, stuff like that. So I feel like it was just a moment where like every woman, regardless of what generation they were from, and a lot of times it was like you're talking about personal bias, like if your grandmother played with Barbies and your mom played with Barbies and you did, and you three go to see that, like that's a moment that's like a life-changing moment.
Yeah.
So like that's where I can put myself in that person's shoes and be like, that's just going to be more meaningful to you than anything else. And like I do understand that.
Yeah. I mean, it's definitely fair. I mean, even there's like some people whose opinion we said like we kind of respect that if I've seen it like in their top 2, and I'm like, I don't know about that one, Chief. Like you're still trying to ride the Barbenheimer wave.
Yeah, and I think some people might feel like a need to put it in their top 10 because of like how important it was culturally and like because of how successful it was. But I can still say I think I really liked it and I think it's a good movie and not have to put it in my top 10. Like, because it's just my top 10 is the stuff that resonated with me generally emotionally the most, and I know I'm going to go back to. That's kind of how I graded it out, I think.
Yeah. All right. That sounds like a wrap. So before we end the day, Eagles, Buccaneers this weekend.
Eagles are still playing. I'm on the Flyers, baby. Yeah, the Eagles are just it's just everything is wrong. I mean, I've said all year Jalen's knee is fucked, I think. And I think he'll get surgery in the offseason. But the coaching staff, Sirianni looks done. Brian Johnson, I think, is done. Apparently the Panthers interviewed him, our offensive coordinator, so gotta be with them. Enjoy. Yeah.
They still have Miles Sanders back.
Yeah. All kinds of problems. So it's not good. But the Buccaneers are bad, so we'll see.
I'm genuinely happy to see Baker Mayfield doing well this year, though.
Yeah, it's been up and down, but more up than down. And he has a good connection with Mike Evans. He's been eating.
Yeah.
If I was a Bucs fan, I wouldn't be that confident in him going into a playoff game. But like, I mean, anyone has been lighting up our the secondary is just there's no pressure. I think that's the actual problem. Quarterbacks are just standing there, and any NFL quarterback, if you let them stand still, they're just a turret. Like they're going to beat you. So
yeah. Did you guys lose any big pieces that I'm missing? Because I know you added Kevin Byard.
Injury was?
Yeah, or trade wise.
So yes. So what happened is, at the beginning of the year, Avonte Maddox got hurt. Who's our slot? Who's really, I would say, maybe our best, most reliable person in the secondary. He got hurt. He just came back, got hurt again against the Cardinals, I think. Darius Slay has been hurt all year. His knee's been hurt. Bradbury's had a few small things. And then Reed Blankenship, our starting safety, just blew out his hamstring, I think, or just hurt his hamstring last week. So
awesome.
Yeah. Not good.
Who do you think Super Bowl this year?
If the Ravens don't win the Super Bowl, I'll be very surprised.
Easy.
The team I don't want to play if I'm the Ravens is the Browns. I think the Browns could beat them. I think divisional games, especially those AFC North games, are a fucking coin flip most of the time, regardless of opponent. And Joe Flacco is just going crazy right now. And the Browns might have the best defense in football. So, like, I don't want to play them. But what are you saying? The Niners win?
Hey,
bro, you just watched the Ravens smack the shit out of them. Brock threw 4 interceptions. Like,
hold on. 2 of those interceptions were not Brock's fault.
Yeah, okay.
Also, we beat them in passing yards, receiving yards, rushing yards, yards per gain, yards per attempt. Like, we just shot ourselves in the foot. So if we get the turnovers in check, we beat them.
If you get the turnovers in check, Brock Purdy had did he have 200 yards?
Yeah.
He did not play well. I still don't believe in that.
Which
I swear to God.
Which I agree. But his touchdown to interception ratio is not terrible this year.
Yeah, but you're throwing to Christian McCaffrey, George Kittle, Deebo Samuel, Brandon Ayuk, and your third receiver lit us up. Who is Juwan Jennings or whatever?
Juwan Jennings.
I mean, they just get the ball out quick, and they have McCaffrey.
Yeah, but he also leads the league in passes over 20 yards.
Yeah, because people catch the ball and fucking run.
Passes over 20 yards.
You're talking about air yards?
Yak. Yeah.
Okay. I don't know. I don't know the validity of that statistic there, but I'll check that.
Also, his yak stat is lower than Mahomes' MVP season last year, Rodgers' MVP season before that.
Okay. My point is,
No,
regardless, he's still throwing to some of the most insanely talented people in football. A
which I
top 2
agree
tight
with.
end, a top 10 receiver,
The number one
top
tight end.
15. Uh, Mark Andrews.
You think he's
And
better
like
than Kittle?
um, honestly, yeah. Like Sam Laporte is a fucking beast too, man. He's so fast. Like
Sam
he's
Laporte is a
crazy
dog.
good.
Yeah, but they're fucked now.
Yeah, they are. And also, Kelsey, like his head is gone this year, obviously, but he's still like, I don't know. He's still who he
Look,
is.
I will argue this till the day I die. Kelsey is a glorified receiver. Because Kittle plays a better true tight end position. He's been the best pass blocking tight end since he's came into the league. Like,
Yeah, which
and he
does
can go
help.
out.
Yeah, I mean George is a really good player. I just feel like he does whatever you guys need him to do. Like he'll have games where he has 2 catches, but he's blocking. He's a good player for sure.
Yeah, I was arguing with someone since I live in Cincinnati the other day though, because they said it was Purdy Burrow argument, which I think Burrow is better than Purdy. I'm not saying that, but they were saying that Purdy's only successful because of his weapons, and I was like, so that's the same argument you could say for Burrow, best receiving core his entire career. Like,
Yeah, and Joe Mixon, who like people forget about all the time, but he's a very good player.
yeah,
But yeah, the receiving core is crazy. It's Chase, Higgins, and Tyler Boyd, who's a good player too.
well, now there's all the rumors that Burrow's going to like take a lot less money and they're going to structure chases and they're going to make a push for Jefferson. Like,
That just seems like a poor allocation of money, like in terms of like percentage of
yeah,
your cap on a position group. But I guess we'll see. T. Higgins was also awful this year. Like he was bad. So
he was hurt for a lot of it too.
yeah, but when he played, he didn't do anything.
He's still a pretty good contested catcher.
Yeah, definitely a talented dude, but I think AJ Brown and Devonta Smith are a better combo than Chase and T. Higgins for sure.
I don't hate that take.
The thing is, though, we don't have Tyler Boyd. Like, if we had Tyler Boyd as our third, like that would be fucking nice. Because like having that like
Yeah.
another option, like, and they also the Bengals also have they have that white kid from like Harvard
Tanner
or
Hudson.
Princeton. He played pretty well this year. I think
Yeah.
there's another one. They have like a few random like white receivers that are solid.
Andreas Sovius is doing pretty good.
Yeah.
Like for a no-namer. Is your guys third still Quez Watkins?
He's when I tell you, dude, he might be the worst wide receiver in football. That dude is dog shit. That dude is horrendous. I literally cannot stand Quez Watkins. He's awful. He cannot catch the ball. He lost them. I think he had a huge drop in the Super Bowl that like potentially lost him the game. He's dog shit.
Yeah. Is AJ Brown healthy for this week?
I don't think so.
Okay.
They're fucked, dude. Like they're completely fucked. Like we have Julio Jones. Like, but
I love
that's about
Julio,
it.
one of the greatest receivers of the 2010s. Probably number
Hey,
3.
he had 2 touchdowns the other day. So
yeah. No, I would put Julio number 3 for the 2010s receivers.
I just see that's something like I can't do off the top of my head. I have to sit down and like think about it. Well, like Calvin Johnson.
I'd say Calvin Johnson and Antonio Brown above him.
I'm trying to think of anyone else we're forgetting about.
I mean, AJ Green is dominant, but he was always hurt.
Larry Fitzgerald.
Yeah, Larry Fitz, obviously in there. Yeah, there's a bunch of names. My buddy and I will sit here for an hour and go back and forth between naming just old school dudes.
Yeah, Calvin was nuts, but also Des Bryant was really good.
Yeah, he's forgotten about a lot, it seems like. And then T.O. kind of played into the 2010s. So, I mean, his name could be in the conversation, but He wasn't
Yeah,
putting
but
up
look at the
AB
full
numbers.
decade. Also, you know who's fucking Keenan Allen is one of the most under talked about players. Keenan Allen is nuts. Like he's an
Yeah.
all-time great receiver. Like so, and
The
he's been
Chargers
doing it for a
receiving
long
core is
time.
pretty good too, with Mike Williams.
Yeah, man's just always gets hurt, man. I had him in fantasy. He screwed me.
That's why I
I
avoid
had
him.
I had him and J.K. Dobbins. I was so excited. I was like rolling, and then instantly it's just gone. No depth.
Yeah,
So
there was one league I had Chubb, Jefferson, and Mike Williams.
it's just done. Yeah.
Yeah. All right, man. Well, we should probably wrap it up here. So,
Yeah. This
any
was
final
good though.
thoughts? Yeah.
Oh, I mean, I would
Happy to
say
be
just
back.
last thought, everyone try to watch Anatomy of a Fall if you can. It's really worth it. That's my last thought. What about you?
Everyone try and watch Poor Things. You're going to be
Yeah.
happily blown away. I think my favorite scene in that movie was maybe the dance scene.
It's hilarious.
Oh, yeah. It was so well choreographed. I loved it.
Yeah, I agree. It's like you said, everyone should go watch it. It'll make you feel a lot of different things, but overall happy. It's a good time.
Yeah. All right, man. Well, take it easy. Recover fast.
Catch you next time. See you,
Yeah.
Connor.
Sounds good.